Still applauding Ovett's run there. Williamson confirmed in second place, John Robson third. But now comes what promises to be the event of the afternoon, the last track event, and you're just in time to see it live. 12.5 laps of the track, the 5,000 meters, featuring the world record holder himself, Henry Rono from Kenya. The world record time, 13 minutes, 8.4 seconds. Rono, hidden in the crowd, just introduced away from him there. You may have just seen him raise his hand. He's wearing number 47. But what a field we've got. There's Rod Dixon from New Zealand, who's beaten him recently. Right there in the centre, Britain's great hero, Brendan Foster from Gateshead, the British record holder and former European champion. Rod Dixon just being announced. And there, wearing 46, is the man they all fear, the mighty Eamonn Coghlan from Ireland. Works for the Irish Tourist Board, and what a job he's done publicising Ireland. Fastest miler in the field. Also in the field, right on the inside, is Mike McLeod from Elving. Such a big field. There's going to be quite a race early on to get clear of the trouble. And Craig Masbach of Haringey takes the lead. He's the American, the Yank at Oxford University, who runs for Haringey and Southgate, and he clearly has got to make the pace. In second place is David Fitzsimons of Australia, and we've got a real international field here and the prospect of a very fast race indeed. Although, having said that, the conditions are not ideal for 5,000 metre runners. It's too warm. Fitzsimons in second place. Rod Dixon, you may not recognise so easily this afternoon, in a white vest instead of the dark of New Zealand. Little Laurie Spence of Scotland's in there. Ray Smedley, rather surprisingly, from Birchfield, having second run. In fact, he ran in the 10,000 metres last night. Rono, by the way, is out there in lane number 3. Doesn't trust himself to get boxed in at all there. So the way out of trouble for him is to stay way on the outside. Just alongside him, number 21, is Kim MacDonald of Leeds. Smedley moving up there just behind Fitzsimons. The big boys will start to move through after the initial rush, and they've just completed 400 metres, and the time 64 seconds, which is on pace for 13 minutes 20 seconds. Now, pacemakers in a race like this don't want to take them too fast too soon, so this is well on the way to respectability. Now, this is an interesting character moving through. Rudy Sharper, the top American at the moment, comes from the University of Oregon, where the late and great Steve Prefontaine was, and he's supposed to be Prefontaine's successor. He's the fastest current American at 13 minutes 19 seconds. So Masbach, the American at Oxford, leads. In second place, Sharper. In third place, Fitzsimons of Australia. Then comes Ray Smedley. Rod Dixon follows. Laurie Spence is next. Just checking back through the field, Brendan Foster is in 8th or 9th place. And that shadow of his from the northeast, from nearby Elzik, Mike McLeod, is tracking Foster. The two great rivals, and there's much a personal duel out there between the pair of them from different northeastern clubs, as there is a battle against the rest. And still, Rono, the man who abandons tactics really in almost every way, contradicts all the rules. He's running wide, keeping clear of trouble, and not making any moves so far. I'm just looking for the green vest of Eamonn Coghlan there. Coghlan looks to me to be about 8th. He's wearing number 46, and he's tucked in there on the curve. And they've got to make this fast with Coghlan in the field, who, remember, is the world indoor mile record holder, and Coghlan too ran 3:52.9 for a mile just 2 weeks ago. So Masbach leads, Sharper America second, Fitzsimons of Australia in third place, Rod Dixon of New Zealand is fourth, Foster economically working through in 5th place, Spence of Scotland is next. Then one of the Americans, I'm not quite sure which one it is, but it could be Perkins. There have been several program changes. McLeod is just going through as well, just passing Smedley. Coghlan just dropping back slightly on the inside and going back through the field. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, Henry Rono. Well, while the track boys go on their way, one of the great figures, one of the great Olympians in action in the discus circle.
Alberta it is, and he's in second place at the moment behind John Powell of the United States, who's thrown 61.50, and that was fast. And this has been a real test of the competitiveness of Erta. It's just shy of 60 metres, which is just short of 200 feet. So he remains in second place.
On the track, they've got 9 laps left. Just checking the lap time, 64 seconds for the first lap. It speeded to 62.5 on the second. It was 66 on the third, so the pace not very even. They went through 3 laps in 3 minutes 13 seconds, which is smack on at even pace at the moment for 13 minutes 20 seconds. And the fastest time in the world this year is held by Nyambui of Tanzania, one of the fastest times ever recorded in the world. In fact, it was the second fastest time ever set earlier this season. Nyambui, that we saw at Gateshead last week, went the 3,000 metres, and his season's best and the second fastest of all time is 13:12.
The leader, Craig Masbach of America, and also Haringey now finds that Rono has closed the gap and is with him. Interesting character and no mean athlete in his own right. 3:54.7 he's run for the mile, and 3:54.7 defeating John Walker behind Eamonn Coghlan, so he's a tremendous athlete. He's been a member of Haringey for some 2 years, but so far denied the possibility of running for them. He's been a second claim member and had trouble with the Southern Counties, but he's a first-rate athlete, and he's got behind him an interesting character, as David Coleman was saying, Rudy Chapa, the heir to Steve Prefontaine's throne, so much loved in Oregon. And interesting that on his shoulder is Rono now, who was recently booed in Oregon. Now, Oregon is the middle distance focal point of the whole of American track and field. Chapa is their man. Rono, who is expected to win everything, ran a slow race and got booed and booed and booed. But Rono takes up the lead now, 26 years of age, from the little Capsabet school in the Kiptorogan village in the Nandi Hills, at 7,600 feet with those tremendous asbestos lungs. Now at Washington State University, coached by John Chaplin, a member of the Kalenjin tribe, the same as Kip Keino, and really looking full of running now.
Well, this, the 99th running of the 3A's Championships, and this one of the greatest races in prospect ever in that long history. The championship sponsored by the Nationwide Building Society. 7 laps left. The pacemaker now has dropped out, Craig Masbach, and Rono running his usual eccentric race. What will he do now? He's got to make the pace. He hasn't got the finishing speed, but what he does do is run fast and slow. Fast and slow. He saps your strength. Fitzsimons of Australia lead, and there is an example of what Rono will do to you. Just moves up easily on the outside, almost looks with a contempt at the opposition, and this makes it so difficult for the rest, who like to conserve their energy at even pace running. Kenya in front, Australia second, and then the 2 Northeasterners, Brendan Foster and Mike McLeod together. Sharper of America in 5th place. Right behind him, Rod Dixon, who's recently beaten Rono. The big men are all gathering there. Eamonn Coghlan's there. Bernie Ford, so unlucky last week when he lost his shoe and threw it so far afterwards he might well have won one of the throwing events. It was so disgusting. So we're down to 2, 4, 6, 8 athletes, with Lacey, United States, becoming undone with 6 laps left. Checking on the pace, they're still just outside of 13:20 pace. But the closing stages are going to warm up, and this is a battle between men and not a battle between men and the clock. Rono again has eased down. Fitzsimons leads now, the Australian. ...29 years old, done 13:28 this season, 14th in the Olympic 10,000 metres, and the current Australian, former Australian champion. His personal best goes back to about 1977 when he did 13:17. Still Fitzsimons in front. Rono living at Rod Dixon's shoulder. These two had such a battle on the continent recently, Dixon and Rono. And Rono, for one rare occasion, was the loser. Dixon beat him over the last 300. Fitzsimons leads, Rono second, Dixon third, Foster 4, Eamonn Coghlan 5, McLeod 6, Bernie Ford now in the picture 7th and going up on the outside. Tucked on the curb, the golden-vested American, Sharper, who's the current #1 in the States. There's such an atmosphere in the stadium, you can feel it all round the ground. And Rono making no sign of the move we expect from him. Just tried the fast and slow for a lap or so. It didn't do anything to the rest, and so Rono's given that idea up for the moment. Just over 5.5 laps to go. The pace now at a steady 65 seconds per lap.
Rono goes to the back of the field and doesn't seem to be responding to this little challenge. Looking at Rodney Dixon there, the tall figure, not wearing his black, number 50. Rod Dixon, now 30, began life as a sprinter, was the New Zealand mile champion at 18 years of age. Same coach as John Walker, Arch Jelly, and all of them disciples of Arthur Lydiard. And what a pedigree he's got. Fourth in the Christchurch 1,500 metres, fourth in the Montreal 5,000 metres ahead of Big Bren, third in the Montreal 1,500, and still believes that he's capable of breaking 13 minutes for 5,000 metres.
Just looking at Brendan Foster and watching him with fascination, because I spent about half an hour after the race at Gateshead when he was beaten by Rod Dixon last week. He was on the physiotherapy table just having a massage, and he was disappointed really that he'd been left in front when the pacemaker Malcolm Prince dropped out, and he'd had to make the pace himself. And he said then, if Bernie Ford hadn't lost his shoe, Bernie would have had to take it on, and I might not have been beaten by Dixon in those circumstances. Well, now Foster's sitting in there behind Dixon, and Dixon went with 280 metres to go in that race. Against Rono, he went with 300 to go and he beat Rono. And Bernie Ford, as we expected, a man now turning to marathon running, but an Olympic finalist at 10,000 metres, goes on in front. He puts the pressure on. The rest must follow. Oh, and Foster's fallen. Oh, a desperate fall. And Brendan Foster can forget this. There's no hope left for him. The cheers of the crowd as he rises, and desperate disappointment for Foster. I can't remember him falling before. He's absolutely red-raw on his shoulder, and there is nothing left for Foster now in the race. And one of Britain's greatest hopes goes out just when the race was settling down to the pattern that he required. So it's left with Mike McLeod up there now, and Bernie Ford. McLeod has got into second place, and the world record holder Rono goes on the outside. Foster being encouraged by the crowd, but for him this afternoon is a lost cause. And one can only hope the selectors for the European Cup are going to be sympathetic when they look at the places at 5,000 and 10,000 metres. Moving up from Foster, he is closing now on the leaders, but it's a hopeless chase. Just over 2 laps to go, and Rono imposing himself on the rest, and Dixon won't let him. Dixon was caught on the curve and charged through, but Coghlan then came through on the near side, and the Irishman, brilliant over a mile, is not letting Rono get away, and Rono looks back, and they're all back there. It's like a cauldron here. Drama all the way, and the prospect of a fascinating last couple of laps. Rono goes again, sapping the strength of them. Dixon can't go, Coghlan does. McLeod tries to respond, but now it's Rono against the Irishman. They are clear. They're 10 metres clear of Dixon. McLeod goes up alongside Dixon, chased by Bernie Ford. Sharper, the greatest of the current Americans, can't live with this pace. He's dropped off as well, and Fitzsimons has been caught incredibly by Brendan Foster, who battles on. Rono, Coghlan and McLeod is back with them. Dixon's getting back as well, but that's because Rono's again on the fast and slow job. He moves out. The invitation for Coghlan to take over, which surely he shouldn't do because he's the faster finisher, allegedly. McLeod in third place. He's run a brilliant race. Dixon is 4, and then Bernie Ford, gritting his teeth and lacking pace, hanging on in 5th place. But we're down to 4 athletes now, and the prospect of a tremendous battle over the last 300 metres, which they're about to enter. Coghlan holds the curve, Rono's right there, McLeod there too, Dixon hanging on 4. So it's Ireland, Kenya, Great Britain and New Zealand, and Coghlan controlling the inside. Rono right at the shoulder, still can't make the move. 200 metres left. The Irishman leads, the Kenyan second, McLeod of Britain third. And what can he do from there? Dixon's unlatched, and here goes Rono up to attack on the outside. Just over 100 metres. And Coghlan looks back at Rono, and here comes Dixon. He's come from nowhere. McLeod's coming as well, but Coughlan's got the speed. McLeod in second place, Dixon third, and the world record holder left for speed. Coghlan a magnificent win. McLeod equally fine run in second place. Dixon takes third. Rono is next. Ford is next. And Foster has beaten the American in spite of falling, the #1 American. The roars of applause for Brendan Foster as well. And there are boos around the track too. I think unnecessarily. No one wanted to see Foster on the floor. And someone got so emotional, I think, they got on the track then and have had to be removed. Well, that race boiled from start to finish. And as much applause there from Foster, who fought his way back in. But what an athlete Eamonn Coghlan is. His father, president of the Irish Board, a lifetime of service to Irish athletics. And Coghlan now is moving up from 1,500 metres, where last season he failed to cope with Steve Ovett. Well, who's to say that this man in the green of Ireland will not be the next Olympic 5,000-metre champion? And as we see him going round the track, it's worth remembering too, this is the second outstanding win for Ireland in 24 hours, because John Tracy took the 10,000-metre title last night. We made the time for Coghlan in the last 200 metres, 27 seconds. And the time for the race, 13 minutes 24 for the winner. Rono here, well, he'd got it made. If he'd got anything left, he was in the position to attack, but the world record holder lacks sprinting speed. McLeod stole through on the inside, Dixon on the outside, and Rono knew for him it was all over. But Coghlan had got away. McLeod's shown here that after being injured, he fell on ice earlier this season. He is very much back. Remember, he's the national cross-country champion too, so his speed at 10,000 metres is going to be vital. But Coughlan's sheer basic miling speed dominated that, and he was always favourite when they couldn't shake him off. McLeod second, Dixon third, Rono fourth, and remarkably, I think Brendan Foster in the end finished in sixth place, having given the leaders some 50, 60 metres. Whether the crowd was booing the person who came on the track, I'm not sure, but this is the incident, and Foster was looking round then at something. Did you see that? But still the accident hasn't happened, and he was caught there by McLeod. It was clearly a clash between the two Britons, and McLeod, who haunts Foster all the way. They're such great rivals, they compete so heavily against each other. There is absolutely no suggestion from that picture, I would say, that it was anything other than an accident. But how ironic it should be that it's his near neighbour in the northeast who brought him down. In fact, that is worth looking at again, because I think it should be established beyond doubt, in view of the great rivalry in the northeast, that it was clearly an accident. I got an unusual shot there, which wasn't quite intended, but here Foster in the red-banded vest, McLeod moving up on the outside and just caught his leg. I don't think there's any suggestion at all. Nothing can be levelled at McLeod about that. Just one of the situations that happen when athletes bunch. But Brendan Foster, who was looking for a fast race today, well, there was no hope of him ever really getting back in serious contention. That's Mel Batty, former 3A's 10,000-metre champion, talking to Foster. So Foster's started the season late with the intention of building up, and the selectors have got a problem now at 5 and 10,000 metres, because what do? You've got Foster, who doesn't want to run 10,000 metres, would prefer 5. McLeod, of course, clearly has the ability at 10 as well. But what a choice they've got to make. It'll be difficult. Whatever they do may be criticised. But they've got two great athletes to choose from. And really, Mike McLeod is developing with every race. The 2 miles especially promise to be something special. And the runners have just over a mile to go as we join them. So the order now, Rono leads, over to Great Britain in second place. Malinowski now, the European steeplechase champion from Poland, is third. Eamonn Coghlan moving easily in fourth place. Fifth is Mike McLeod of Ellsworth. Sixth, John Robson now of Scotland. Bronze medalist in the Commonwealth 1500. Just behind Robson is Nick Rose, tucked in on the curb, and then Willie Polyunis of Belgium.
And Malinowski takes up the running, one of the great danger men. The big 5, as David Coleman read them out there, if you could have got a bookmaker to put odds on them, you'd have had them in that order. But now Malinowski feels that the pace has dropped, and got up with him is Ovett. Mike McLeod has joined up fine. John Robson's going in there on the shoulder of Rono. Rono's dropped back to fourth place. But Malinowski, with his great tactical sense of timing, knew exactly when it was dropping and piled on the pace, and still makes this record attempt a possible one.
That's an outside world record pace now. They're running at about 8 minutes 16 seconds, which is 3 seconds outside Brendan Foster's world record. But of course the battle in the closing stages may well bring them back in, and Malinowski's judgment was absolutely right there, because that was a slower lap. It was 64.5, and they went through an approximate mile in 4 minutes 9 seconds. When you think that Brendan Foster's world record 8:13.7, that's 2 4 minutes 7 second miles. That's some running. Now Henry Rono takes them on again, challenges Malinowski, the burly pole on the inside. Steve Ovett still covering them. Mike McLeod looking good in 4th place. Nick Rose moves up 5. Eamonn Coghlan is 6th, now displaced by John Robson, and still tailing the leading bunch with 3 to go. Here's the tiny Belgian Willy Paul-Younis. Rono spurts again and takes on Malinowski. Fast and slow, and this is a fast bend for him. Malinowski won't let him back. Rono just almost seems to assure Malinowski that it's easy for him as he looked at him, and Ovett's making it look easy too, but will he have the strength at the finish? Because Rono's got to go, and this is the test for Ovett. Can Ovett stay with him now? He's actually thrown the gauntlet down now, Rono, and can Ovett live with him? He really has kicked tremendously hard. So Rono leads, Steve Ovett the only one now capable of going with him. In 3rd place, Malinowski, now 10 metres adrift from the leader. So the big two are out alone. Rono leads, Ovett 2nd, Malinowski 3rd. And suddenly, Rono has split the field wide open. That leading group of 8 or 9 has now 50 metres between the 9th man and Henry Rono, has got 800 metres left. He looks to see Ovett there, and Ovett is just tucked in behind him, playing the waiting game. And as Rono slows again, Malinowski gets back with him. That was a 61-second lap. It's still just outside Foster's world record, and Rono takes them on again and gets away again from Malinowski. And look at Ovett there. He had to slow down. He was moving so easily. He moved up with Rono, was getting so close to him, he had to chop his stride. 600 metres to go, and this is the clash that track enthusiasts have been waiting for all over the world, and Rono slowed it again. Malinowski's back in the race, and Ovett still waits. Ovett just looking at Rono. He looks supremely cool, but what a last lap this should be. And there goes Rono again. He can't wait. He's afraid of Ovett's finish. And they come up now with the bell in sight, the last lap, 400 metres to go. And Rono sprints once more. Ovett goes with him, and Malinowski still can't go with them. And it doesn't look as if they'll slow this time to let Malinowski back. It's Rono versus Ovett, down to 2. And listen to this crowd, an absolute sellout. And Rono goes again. And still Ovett's right there with him. 220 metres left. Kenya versus Britain. Rono doing everything he can to shake the tail off, but the shadow is still there. Stalking the Kenyan all the way. Now what has Ovett got left? Has Rono drawn the finish? No, he hasn't. And here comes Ovett on the near side, and he's making it look ridiculous. The world record holder destroyed by Ovett. The wave to his parents in the crowd. He wins it. Rono 2nd, Malinowski 3rd, Paul-Younis is 4th, 5 is Rose. And in 6th place, Mike McLeod, and Brendan Foster's world record has gone to Steve Ovett, 8 minutes 13.5, compared with Foster's 8 minutes 13.7. Magnificent running by a man who is becoming a machine. He's arrogant, they say, he's overconfident, but let's face it, over his best distances, he delivers.
There cannot be a cooler racing brain than that. There is a standing ovation for Ovett. Arrogant or not, he took on the man who had every justifiable claim to be called the greatest athlete in the world, and he took him on over 2 miles and every inch of the way, and beat him in the finishing straight, saving time to wave to the crowd. He's a very special kind of customer indeed, Stephen Ovett.